I stand before you, else you believe still that you are free. But I truly say to you today, that none are more hopelessly enslaved than those who believe that they are free. The truth is out there. I have found it. I will now help you to find it. I am a truther. Hello and welcome. Now, this here is not going to be on why gun control is bad, but merely what happened in history of gun control and weapon control in general. Adolf Hitler once said himself, "To conquer a nation, one must first disarm its citizens." Now, with doing that, alright, so he first disarmed them before carrying out his murderous campaign against them, and unable to resist, millions died. And what is going on right now, people? The government is attempting to disarm the population, and unable to resist, once again, millions will die. Now, the Georgia Guidestones. Alright, you may not have heard of them, but I'll talk about these in another video. Exclusively. Alright. 1. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Under 500 million, now the current population is 7,300,000,000. You subtract 500 million from that, it would make 6,800,000,000 people die. Now, the rest of the Guidestone claims to guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. Now, whoever these people are, it's unknown who put this up, but it's basically a monument out in a state, I forget what state, but that's sort of a picture of it. It's like in the negative, but that's what it looks like. Now this is supposed to lead the world into an age of reason, or something of the sort. Now, much of this goes against the Bible itself. To guide reproduction wisely, so as to improve fitness and such. Now, the Spartans, as many may know, used to, this is how it would go. They used to only, a baby could only be let to live if it had certain physical properties, that being broad shoulders, certain kind of hand, and a square-like head. Now, this goes against the Bible as well. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it." Other translations saying, "Fill the earth and govern it, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it, replenish the earth, fill the earth and multiply." basically. And yet, this says no to that. 3. To unite humanity with a living new language. This also would go against the Bible. Now this is a bit of a long quote. You can skip past if you'd like, but Genesis chapter 11 verse 1 through 9. This is before the languages were confused. Now all the earth continued to be of one language and of one set of words. As they traveled eastward, they discovered a valley plain in the land of Shinar, and they began dwelling there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them with fire." So they used bricks instead of stone, and bitumen as mortar. They now said, "Come, let us build a city for ourselves and a tower with its top in the heavens. And let us make a celebrated name for ourselves, so that we will not be scattered over the entire face of the earth." Then Jehovah went down to see the city and the tower that the sons of men had built. Jehovah then said, "Look, they are one people with one language, and this is what they have started to do. Now there is nothing that they may have in mind to do that will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language, in order that they may not understand one another's language." So Jehovah scattered them from there over the entire face of the earth, and they gradually left off building the city. That is why it was named Babel, because there Jehovah confused the language of all the earth, and Jehovah scattered them from there over the entire face of the earth. Now, so basically, so that people would not be united, he wants the earth to be filled, not just a bunch of people in one spot. So to do so, he created many languages, so that they would scatter over the entire face of the earth, and so they did. To create a new language, just one single language, to reunite the people, would bring back the city of Babel. Now, the rest of the Guidestone isn't honestly all that bad. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. I'm going to come back to that. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Be not a cancer of the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. Now, this is like actually would be really good to happen, but of course it won't. I mean, it will if this plan is carried out, but now 8. Balance personal rights with social duties. They want to take away our rights and rather recreate something to the like of communism, where everyone works certain jobs that they are assigned and such. Now, back up to maintaining humanity under 500 million. Now again, that would kill 6,800,000,000 individuals. Now, one method, the method I believe that this will come out in, World War III. Now, Albert Pike, I went through my last video was on Albert Pike. You can go watch that if you want, but the Third World War prophecy, basically. This man was a 33rd degree Mason and so on. It was said that he had a ring that he could summon Lucifer with. Now, the Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and the political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement which will follow from the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Now, parts that many hundreds of millions would die in. Alright, if the Muslim Arabic world and the state of Israel mutually destroyed each other, that would be much death. When the other nations come in to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion, that would be much death. When the nihilists and the atheists provoke a social cataclysm, which will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil, that would be much death. And when the citizens defending themselves against those people, the nihilists and the atheists, exterminate said people, that would be much death. And once Christians see that their deistic spirits, deism is belief in one God, basically, will be without compass or direction. They will be praying and such, and see that their God does not come to them. They will then see that they will be anxious for something to worship, for that is how we were created. But without knowing where to render the people's adoration, Lucifer will be brought out into the public view. Now, I emphasize public because it exists behind closed doors. Now, it will result from the general reactionary movement which followed the destruction of Christianity and atheism was conquered and exterminated at the same time. Now, those all happening would cause such a state of death that, I think 6,800,000,000 could very well die from all that. Now, of course, other things would happen to cause them to die, but anyways, there are, of course, other theories on how that will be brought out. Perhaps because up here, alright, the First World War and the Second World War, who Albert Pike also predicted, they happened in the way he said. Alright, you can pause it and read those if you wish, but now they very well could have changed what they're going to do for the Third World War. There might not even be one, but it's extraordinarily likely that it will be. The other theories include per possible alien invasion deception. So whatever comes from that will not be real. And if that did happen, that would also destroy Christianity. Not so much atheism, but still. And they could very well use that. The aliens, as you may call them, would be demons rather, and they may claim to be the creators, which is blatant lies, for there is one creator, and that is God. Now, if you, for whatever reason, are unable to believe your ears, keep in mind 2 Timothy chapter 4 verses 3 through 4. For there will be a period of time when they will not put up with the helpful teaching, but in accord to their own desires, they will accumulate teachers for themselves to have their ears tickled. Verse 4, and they will turn their ears away from the truth, whereas they will be turned aside to false stories. And that is what some of you are doing. All you want is to hear what you want to hear, to have your ears tickled, and you would rather be turned aside to false stories. Verse 5, you, though, keep your senses in all things, suffer evil, do the work of an evangelizer, fully accomplish your ministry. Keep your senses. You. Please, wake up if you are still asleep. Do your own research on these. If you want links, here, they won't be in the description, for YouTube can sense that. The links are right up top. Now, I got a few other quotes from Hitler. Alright. How fortunate for governments that the people they administer don't think. How true. Minister is another word for rule, basically. So rewording that, how fortunate for governments that the people they rule don't think. That is what is going on. They are hoping that people will not be woken up. But I am to go against that. Next quote. if you tell a big enough lie and tell it frequently enough, it will be believed. How true. You are lied to by the media constantly, and yet it is believed. By the skillful and sustained use of propaganda, one can make a people see even heaven as hell, or an extremely wretched life as a paradise. How true. They seem to have made homelessness be the worst possible punishment, and they therefore make it a... Now, alright, before going into that, I know what it's like to be on the streets. When I was 9, we were out there for a little over a month in the ghettos of Detroit. Now, I mean, it sucked at first, but eventually, that's how to live a simple life. We didn't have to worry about work or stress. There was no stress. We didn't worry about money or food. The way we got our food, there was woods nearby. We went there, we picked our own berries and such. What's so bad about that, huh? Now, that's just one thing, alright? The way they portray the homeless is hell, when in reality it's pretty great. I mean, that's my opinion, alright? You may have had different experiences, but I enjoyed it. Maybe I was too young and I remember the wrong things, but either way. Now, next quote. Make the lie big, make it simple. Keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. Again, how true. The lie is big, it is simple. They keep saying it, and they do believe it. Next quote. The great masses of the people will more easily fall victims to a big lie than to a small one. Again, how true. Just a little lie, people seem to pick up on it more. But when it's so big, they think, oh, the government won't lie to us in such a way. But they do. That will be the conclusion of this video. Good day to you all. Come, my brethren, take courage and stand beneath our banner. The darkness closes in, and we are the only defenders of the light. March to victory, and arise triumphant.